Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the People Person podcast presented by Good Time Media. This is episode 99. We're approaching episode 100 right around the corner. We got a special episode for that. But today, we have a very special guest. We have another member of the Good Time family, which is rare. We usually don't have inner Good Time minglings here on the podcast, which is nice. Oscar Creed is here. You might know him from the Low Zone. Oscar, how you doing today?
Wyatt, buddy, thank you for having me on. I'm really thrilled to be here.
I'm this is nice because it's almost like a background check on you after you've already done work for us. So it's like, all right, let's get to know this guy that's actually like a front-facing member of this company.
Yeah, no, hope I don't have any dark secrets that end the show early or
Yeah,
something.
I was gonna say if people are listening to this and it went out, then I think we're good. So if anyone's listening to this right
Yeah.
now, we should be all right. So I want to back up a little bit before you get into the Low Zone. Before I even knew who you were, you started an Orlando Magic fan page, the Magic Report, and I saw this started back in 2016. What was the origin behind that? What made you want to do that? Was it just I like the Magic, that makes sense, let's do Instagram, blah blah blah, or what was the thought process behind that one?
So it's funny. I always really kind of had an admiration for the fan pages and the fan accounts, fan communities on Instagram for the years leading up to the foundation of the Magic Report. What really did it was since I'm based in Toronto, I saw the Raptors play a lot live, and my two favorite Raptors ever are Bismack Biyombo and Terrence Ross, and those are two Raptors that are very have a special place in Raptor fans' hearts. Um, and they both ended up in Orlando. Like Bismack
Yeah.
signed what birthed the page was the signing of Bismack Biyombo in
Huh.
Orlando, and I was like, oh my god. At the time, there weren't as many Orlando Magic fan pages as there were other team fan pages. Like if you looked at the Heat, if you looked at the Lakers, the Raptors, they all had like 10 plus fan pages with thousands of followers. And I was just like, you know what's best if I start the Magic, and my fandom grew and grew from there, really. Like I didn't have a love for the team before that. I enjoyed the Magic. I liked Dwight Howard, but this was just yeah, that's how it all began.
Huh. That's interesting. I assumed you were like a diehard Magic fan, and then you're like, I just want to put that loves and passion somewhere online. So it kind of was like, I like this player. He's going here. There's like a niche in the market where there's not a lot of Magic fan pages, not a
Yeah.
lot of people covering the Magic. I could do that. And then so there's the fandom kind of grew from that. It stemmed from, all right, there's this opening. Let's do it.
Yeah, and there were quality Magic fan pages. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Orlando Magic HQ and Be Magic or Be Gone. Those are the two OGs from time ago. And I saw those guys, and I was like, I kind of want to do what they do. And plus, I was really interested in graphic design. I taught myself Photoshop all on my phone. Actually, I never used
Hell yeah.
Photoshop computer, and to this day, it's mobile Photoshop
No
still that
way.
I
You're
do
still
all my
using it on your
posts.
phone?
Yeah, yeah, dead ass. Not even lying. And I
That's
get a lot of heat for that. Like people are saying, like, could you imagine? I get a lot of compliments on my graphics, and people say, like, it could be so much better if you were on the computer. But if it's not broke, don't fix it.
yeah. No, I never would have guessed that was all in your phone. That's actually wild. Because I'm going through the
Thanks.
same process of like upgrading editing systems, make sure we have the right software and stuff. And then
Yeah,
in the back of my mind, I'm always like you said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, don't like I'm trying to upgrade something that might not need upgraded. You know what I mean? That's
right,
that's an
right.
interesting thing. If like I did a lot of this stuff again, like self-taught, you teach yourself how to do things, and then you get stuck in your ways, and then you see someone else doing it, what might look on paper way more like professional. But if the results are the results, like I guess it's you can't really complain.
It's kind of like the opposite of when you're in math class and you find an answer to something, and the teacher's like, "Well, you're not supposed to do it that way, and
Yeah.
you're supposed to do it this way, right?" I mean, people. That's kind of the great part about. I wouldn't want to call it mobile journalism, but the aspect of mobile content creation and the accessibility that's opened up for people to become creators. Like I hopped in just before that became mainstream, and then everyone had access to everything, and I think that kind of birthed like everyone having a voice online. Everyone has if you can get access to the equipment, you can get access to
Mhm.
uh creating content and stuff that people can reach. I mean, like I honestly have thought to myself, it would make more sense to switch over and do things the right way. But yeah, if I feel like I've built a pretty solid, foundation of using certain apps, like what you said about trying to find, new video editing software and stuff like that. Like people sleep a lot on mobile app production. There's some really
Yeah.
quality programs out there that get the job done, and it's kind of easier because there's more shortcuts. It's hard to be
Yeah.
more detailed, but you know, it's easier for the common folk.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because when you do kind of what we do is there's an idea that you want to come across as professional and look good on paper. When I think like I sometimes have to get out of my own head where like how it looks on paper isn't really like the measure for success. It's are people enjoying this? Am I entertaining? Is there a outward sign of people enjoying the product? And if they're doing that, doesn't matter if you're on your cell phone recording with bad internet or whatever, as long as people are engaging with it and enjoy it.
Yeah,
There's a balance because all right, they're enjoying this product, but you also, as the creator, want to make sure you're giving them the best product possible. So there's a push and pull there. You know what I mean? Where it's like I want to do the best to make sure the audience has the best video quality, audio quality, whatever. But there's also, am I doing that just for me to like look better? Does that make sense? It's a
yeah,
weird
I get it.
dynamic there.
I get it. My thing is like, what's so cool about um, you know, creating content or recording stuff or being like a mobile journalist nowadays is that, people have it doesn't filter out any personalities. So like if you wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be covering news 20 years ago, you had to be a reporter and you had to have credentials on the scene. And there is good and there's bad to this, right? So whoever, wants to is able to go and comment on or record and commentate a certain situation. Say, for example, there's a protest downtown, and you have people on Facebook who have access to iPhones that have stellar video and audio quality. You could buy one of those cheap little microphones, and now
Yeah.
like you're able to garner a following and pull followers from a more central, source. Say, for example, like a CNN. If there's people who watch CNN but don't want to watch Fox, but they don't agree with everything that CNN's saying, they're going to find somebody who most caters to what they want to hear and see on television. That's kind of like a thing we all do. It doesn't matter where you lie on a political spectrum or an emotional spectrum. You're going to gravitate towards content that engages you because it speaks to what you desire.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think that's kind of a big part of what good time is, or this idea, like the vision I have for good time is I want to document the process of like right now, like when this podcast first started, it was me on my Mac sitting there with the webcam that was shitty and just talking through that. And I've documented like, okay, now like, oh, we got microphone, we got headset, we got nice cameras, whatever. And like I don't want to pretend to be something we're not, where I don't want to like put on this facade that we're some production company that is very like high tech or whatever. I never want to do that. I want to document like hopefully we get to the point where like, yeah, we can improve some stuff. We like make it studio look better, do whatever. But I want to document that so it doesn't feel like, oh, you're starting day one like this, because that's just not like feasible for people. And I want to show that
Right.
it's possible for someone to like basically I want to lay out a blueprint so someone could do exactly what I did and they could see it online. We have a digital footprint of, oh, this dude started right here. Like this is episode 99. Episode 1 was in this same room on a bed, me and my buddy with a Mac computer and like honestly probably these same microphones cuz they're cheap karaoke mics. Like there's no like I'm very like open the curtain there where like
Transparent. Yeah, yeah,
transparent, that's
yeah.
the word I was looking for, where people like
I got
know
you.
where we're coming from. It's interesting like to show, I think showing that process is becoming way more beneficial for people, and people want to see that. People don't want a fake like, oh, look at this professional studio, we're here pretending to be something.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you start in a place like where you started and people are genuinely interested from the get-go, that means that you have something valuable. That means that people are going to want to tune into what you're hearing, and this select group is going to tune in regardless of if
Mm-hmm.
your quality is good or not, right? And once you garner that following at the beginning, yeah, you'll probably, have the opportunity to get, better equipment, have more high quality equipment and get along the way, like, where you are now. And it almost like plays to tugging at their emotions. They feel like they've been part of this
Yeah.
process, and they look forward to they actually value someone's opinion. You know what I mean? Like if there's people from day one that are still hanging around, you know that they value you and the
Hmm.
content that you put out, and you know the more people that come along the way, like you don't call them bandwagons because they're still
Yeah.
supporting, but from the get go, I mean, yeah, it's cool to have that established. Like I've got a group of followers on the Magic Report. My account's been deleted twice, and I've had to
No
restart
way.
from the beginning uh, twice after my original. I had the first account, the Magic Report, was 17,000 followers, and I got deleted because of copyright reasons. I did not know that you couldn't use someone's song in a highlight mix. And I'm like, that should be fair use, man. I'm
Yeah.
hyping up, you know. Anyway, they gave me enough strikes, and I ignored a couple of them. And anyways, I lost the account. I made the Magic Report 2, uh, and I used some bad language on the account.
Yeah.
Nothing obscene and horrifying. But I think I threw a couple f bombs out and that were unwarranted, and I got reported a couple times. And that one I lost. And then I was able to get the name back, and I've got the Magic Report now, and I'm taking it extra seriously. But my
Yeah.
point is, there were followers who followed me on each of those accounts leading up to this, uh, because they valued my content, and my content was terrible from the beginning. I was using like some apps like already pre-made layout. And do you follow All Sports News? Do you follow that account, ASN?
Uh,
It's where the picture's white, and they have like a picture above with the sports player, and then they have like a paragraph underneath.
I might
Either
not.
way,
I've
I,
probably
I
seen it.
I based my entire account off of that page, and I wanted to build it like that. And you know, all due respect to them, but they've got very basic
Oh yeah,
graphics that they've
yeah.
stuck to, right? So it was very simple, kind of, you know, just picture and text thing.
Hmm.
And people enjoyed that. And then I kind of, you know, realized maybe I should do something new. And I start doing something new. And I'm kind of going off track here, but
Yeah.
my point is, I agree with you. You know, establishing that from the beginning is very important, and it shows that you had something valuable to contribute content wise.
Yeah, it just limits the space between you and the audience. I
Yeah,
think when you're transparent enough to like, hey, like this isn't perfect, but it's the best I can do right now. And then hopefully
yeah,
you keep watching, keep in like I keep entertaining you. We keep going back and forth. We'll get better and we'll go to that next step together. We're not going to leave you behind. Um,
exactly.
when you first started out, so since you weren't like the diehard Magic fan, and then all of a sudden you're posting a lot of Magic stuff, was there some part of you where like kind of fake it till you make it, and then eventually, when did that fandom get to a point where like, okay, I believe this, like I believe because it's hard. A lot of people like you can't really like, be like, oh, you can't hop onto a team at that point in stage or however old you were. What was that like?
So I honestly I never faked my love for the Magic. I think from the get, I mean, I was a Kobe Bryant fan, and which is really like hard for me to admit here that I was like a fan of the Lakers while Kobe was playing for them
Uh,
for my whole childhood, right? And then Kobe retires. I have no affiliation to the Lakers. I could not care less about a team led by Jordan Clarkson and D'Lo and Julius Randle, and what a shit show. So, and no, I wasn't abandoning them because I didn't find them; they weren't my team. I was a fan of players. I loved
mhm.
Giannis Antetokounmpo. I loved Bismack Biyombo, Kobe Bryant. I loved Dwight Howard. I loved Jameer Nelson. Like guys, specific players. Not all of them superstars, but I followed them, and I guess that's hard for me to admit because people will look at you and go, "Well, you're a casual fan," and I'm you know I'll admit that I have called fans out for just being fans of players and not teams, but that's kind of how I started. And so when I opted to sort of like I was teamless, I was like a free agent kind of. I had
Yeah.
to pick a new team, and it wasn't going to be the Raptors because I hated Raptors fans. I lived amongst Raptors fans. I went to school with Raptors fans, and they're insufferable. They're just insufferable.
Yeah, we've
But
all met Eddie. We know who Eddie is.
oh my days, man! This guy, I'm in the chat with him, and I see that he's got a 647 phone number. 647 is the area code for Toronto, and we're going, oh man, like wow! I actually find out he lives 5 blocks from me
No
in Toronto,
way.
which is crazy. But the guy tells me he's like, hey, you know, how come you're not a Raptors fan? And I was like, well, you guys are insufferable. You told me Patrick Patterson was a top 3 defender in the NBA when he played for the Raptors. Excuse me? Like, there's just so many different things, and the false hope when LeBronto was live. You know, I loved certain players, but I could not get the love behind the team, and people always shit on me for not being a hometown kid. I don't care. I mean, I
Yeah.
have respect for the Raptors, and I won't lie. I celebrated when they won the championship in 2019 we got hammered and we ran out of the streets of Yonge Street in Toronto. And my God, it was like, what a night. And I want that for Orlando. But my overarching point here is I gravitated towards the Magic, and I never really had to fake it. I kind of there were
Yeah.
little things to love. Guys like Nikola Vucevic, who gave never complained about the team how mediocre they were, gave it his all. Guys like DJ Augustine, playoff heroes. You know what I mean? Sinking
Mm-hmm.
that shot. Sorry, I'm talking a lot, but the
No,
Raptors
perfect.
game one, 2019, and playoffs first round. I'm there. I'm the one guy in blue in a sea full of red. And I've got my blue headband. I've got blue face paint. I got my Aaron Gordon jersey. And I see DJ Augustine hit the game winning shot. It's a game winning 3-pointer in Toronto. I'm the only Magic fan. Um, it was over Kawhi, too, I believe. He shot it over Kawhi and he made it. And that's all I ever needed. I didn't need us to win another game. I didn't need us to win a championship. I was like, this is my first taste of Orlando Magic success, and I want to do nothing but love this team because there's a fun culture about Magic fans where they will ride or die for a guy that shows their team love.
Hell yeah. No, I love,
Yeah,
and I do. First of all, we need to get you and Eddie doing some kind of content together since you're so close. Granted, you and me, we know Eddie is a nutball and a jackass, and I'll say that as many times as I possibly can. He's the strangest human being I've ever met, but I love him to death because of that, and he's just good for content because he's a weirdo.
he's amazingly authentic, and
Yes,
even if
yes,
the takes that you're making are absolute dog water, which they are, because I've watched his show. He makes some crazy points. But you gotta love that because I have a very good friend of mine who's stubborn in his ways and is just truly himself. And I was talking to my friends about it. I'm like, I love that. Even if you're wrong, even if you're proudly
hmm
wrong about something, that's not entirely harmful. You know,
yeah,
go be you, man. Go do your thing. I love that about him. And
yeah.
I've reached out to him about making content. He's like, yeah, we'll get you on the show. So we're figuring
Good.
that out. I just
Well,
haven't heard a text back.
you might not get that text back. That's the thing
I
with
don't think
Eddie
so.
is we first brought him on board. He was the first ever employee of Good Time. An employee is very loosely used there. Uh, he was the brother of one of my teammates in college, and then he was 16 at the time, just a child, and he started writing blogs and stuff and all this. But then he just like doesn't do work. When he does it, it's good, it's funny, it's entertaining. But getting that man to work is the hardest thing I've ever done in this entire business because he's a child and he refuses to work. But when he does, it's good. Like his podcast, the Pear Tree podcast, is hilarious because
Yeah.
of just like his character. And it feels like he's playing like doing a bit, but that's just him. That's Eddie
Yeah,
100%.
you can tell that's him and he's not putting something on. Like I love that. I
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to do with the low zone is be completely authentic.
Yeah.
And I see someone like him, he's just genuinely entertaining.
Yeah.
It's good, man. Good for
And,
him.
and every time I will post something on Good Time, we'll post a graphic. Without a doubt, he'll comment like, "Wyatt, this is the worst take of all time. You're an idiot." And then he'll randomly call me like once a week and just be like, "Hey man, like Raptors won or something like that." I'm like, "Eddie, make a podcast, record." I'll just yell at him. I yell at Eddie once a week, and we'll see. But we definitely need to get you guys doing some stuff together. I didn't know you guys were so close. We're gonna have a Good Time
No.
Toronto headquarters.
Let us lead it.
Yeah.
Don't hire him as an employee though. Have him be my copy
Yeah, exactly.
guy.
So so you start gaining some traction with the page. You're all of a
Yeah.
sudden these Magic fans start taking you in as one of their own. What was the moment you realized like, oh shit, like this is bigger, maybe bigger than just me, bigger than myself. This is like a brand behind it, if that makes sense.
Honestly, like, so I'll be brutally honest here. I hid the fact that I was running this page from everybody except my brother because at the time it felt weirdly cringy to have like be a
Yeah.
fan and make an account about it because all the fan accounts I'd known before that weren't sports were about uh you know movies or TV shows or actors or whatever. And I wanted to take a spin on it because I knew that I loved basketball and I knew I could talk about basketball for hours and hours. And another main, driving factor in that was not a lot of my friends, talked basketball to the extent that I wanted to
Yeah.
talk about it. But the moment that I really realized it was a brand was when I hit 10,000 followers, and
Mhm.
I got reached out to by at the time it was called Wave TV, but now it's Wave Sports and Entertainment. And they did this thing where they reached out to a fan page of every major league sports team in North America before major sports leagues. So, hockey, baseball, football, basketball. They reach out to one fan page from every team in each sport, and they said, "Do you want to be like a junior writer for under Wave TV?" And so they bought my account, and they had the rights to it, and I worked under them for about 2 years. And that's when I knew. I was like, okay, so if I'm getting recognized by a company who has millions of followers, they enjoy my content. They think they task me with running other accounts. I was like, this is time not a lot of people are as ahead in the game as I am. And not to
Hmm.
sound cocky at all, but I
Oh
mean, like
yeah.
I was 16 years old and I was being paid to post content about basketball online. And I said, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep pushing. So now I'm going to school for it. I'll be going to school for it for the next few years. And it's just like, that was the driving factor or the main factor
Yep.
in deciding it was a career.
And so, what exactly are you studying right now? What's that look like? What's the day to day outside of running those pages?
University of Western Ontario Mustangs, baby. That's us. 2 hours outside of Toronto. I study media. It's called media information and technoculture. Uh, Technoculture is not a word. It's just technology culture is what
Yeah.
they're trying to say.
Huh.
It's a media studies program here, and then I'm going to go to the College of Sports Media. It's a full college in Toronto, and I'll be doing that. Just trying to understand the ins and outs of broadcasting, man. Like that's what I want to do. That's what I'm digging, and I want to pursue it. But what about you? Are you still in school, or did you finish up? You
Mm-mm.
said you were in. Okay,
So I graduated last almost a year, I guess a little less than a year ago. So last spring I graduated. I studied like media, film, minor, all this stuff.
nice.
Basically was just doing all this on the side. And then COVID hit while we were in school. Like so my sophomore, junior year was basically all online. And that's when Good Time started. That's when I was because I'd been doing YouTube, I had a podcast, I was doing blogs, but they were all separate like corners of my life. I wanted it all under one roof, and then I wanted other people involved. I wanted a brand that was way bigger than myself. At that point, it was all like Wyatt Metzger YouTube channel or Wyatt Metzger like Twitter, whatever. And I didn't something about that rubbed me the wrong way because I think there's first of all like a weird stigma about like oh like he's a YouTuber, whatever. And then also
Yeah.
like I hated having my name and like my photo attached with it. I wanted like to create like a community and then something like a brand that's way more recognizable than me. I didn't want to be like the face of something. I didn't like that, but I did love what I was doing. Like I liked making videos. I liked interviewing people. I liked doing all that. So I just kind of kept doing that as much as I could throughout college. And then once graduated, I was like, you know what? Screw it. All in, burn the boats. This is the time to do it. And then we just been grinding ever since.
Nice, man.
And
Where'd you
then
go? Where'd you go to school?
DePaul University. It's a
Whoa, nice.
not DePaul with an L. So it's DePaul with a W. It's a D3 school, Division 3. Yeah, you probably had thought DePaul in Chicago. This
Yeah,
one's
that's what I was thinking.
everyone has it's I have that same interaction every single time I say that. It's a small school. I played tennis there. Loved it. Great experience. And I'm glad I went. A lot of people are like, oh, you're not even using like your degree to like do that. So you didn't need college. But like, no, I gained so much from that experience. Like just meeting people, learn like growing into my own too, just like becoming comfortable just as a person. Like that's
Do
so
you
underrated.
do you Yeah, so I want to actually expand on this real quick if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I think that people really underestimate the value of post-secondary education.
Yeah.
And you'll hear me refer to college as university up here because
You guys are weird.
Canada,
Yeah.
university is like, what you guys would consider college, and then
Yeah.
college is like community college, but
Okay.
not really. It's like kind of like a step above community college, and then there's some smaller. It's there's like three levels of post-secondary
Okay.
education up here, and I think you guys have like colleges and then community colleges. If I
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, that's
So
the
I mean,
gist.
like I got teased a lot for being in media studies because I live with engineers and I live with
Mm-hmm.
business guys, and so uh, a lot of, and not them in particular, but a lot of people that they were in the same programs as would ask me, like, what do you find the value in media? How do you find a career afterwards? I actually like the joke around here. My program is MIT, Media Information and Technoculture, and people call it mothers in training because they're like, right after school, what you can't do much with this degree. And it's simply not true. I mean,
Yeah.
I've learned how to, critically analyze and research stuff and make a valid proofread, peer educated, you know, scholarly research paper. And it's something to help prove a point. And it's not just about a paper, it's about, you know, making arguments and doing research in real life and having a certain composure and respect to uh how things are presented in media, the history of media, how media is used and abused nowadays, like stuff like that. Like it's more so just kind of understanding society. It's you could pretty much
Yeah.
put it under the umbrella of sociology, but any university degree is going to, most at least, are going to teach you how to operate in the real world amongst people who are uh also well versed and well educated. You know what I mean? I don't want to make it
Yeah.
sound elitist because you can totally, there's no doubt in my mind you can be successful
Yeah.
without one. But it doesn't just help in the world of business. It helps you think about things in your day to day life. How to sit down and plan something out and uh, go about your day in a way that is, organized and most beneficial for you. I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, 100%. First of all, MIT means something very different down here in the States. So
I know.
if you said I was MIT, then everyone's be like, yeah, you're a genius. You're amazing. But no, I think even if you take the schooling and education part away and forget about that for a second, just having that experience, that transition into the real world, yes, you could do it. I could easily be where I am right now if I didn't go to college. I think everything would look a lot different because the people I've met and the experiences I had really formed like who I am as a person. And like I can't take that away. And you really become a more well-rounded person, and you have
Yeah.
you have a much bigger respect. Honestly, I just think for like people in general, when you meet people from way different walks of life. Like I go to a school where some people were working like 3 jobs just to pay for it. It was a more expensive university. I was lucky enough where athletics could help there. Like I worked my butt off
Yeah.
playing tennis growing up where that could help. And some people work their butts off so they get like a 36 to the ACT so they can get in that school. And everyone's coming in with a different, unique perspective on life. And
Right.
if I opted out to like, you know what? Because there was thoughts where like, I know I want to do this. I don't need school. And when I'm 16, 17, that seems awesome. We're like, I'll take the
Right.
path less chosen. I'll skip this college route and make it on my own. Where I don't think I'd be as successful because I wouldn't have that holistic experience where I can see both sides of things. Where if I'm coming out of high school, I'm so focused on making this work my way, I can't take the blinders off and be like, okay, I can see where you're coming from. I understand that you didn't grow up the same way I did, so you see it from this point of view. And you don't get that if you're just hell bent on, I'm going to make it this way. I'm going to avoid that college. I'm just going to focus on me, my career, my
Yeah.
business. College is that transition period where you have less. Honestly, I think you have less responsibility when you're in college than in high school or university. Because in
Yeah.
high school, at least for me, it's you have what 5, 6 classes a day. Boom, boom, boom. The bell tells you to go here. This teacher tells you to do this. And then when you're in university or college, you set your own schedule a little bit. You have less class. You have to structure your own work life balance, all that stuff. And like it's a hell of a time. It's a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
That's a part people are afraid to kind of talk about. Where if you know I want to work the rest of my life doing this, it's a grind. Like doing what we
Yeah.
do is a grind. If you can spend 4 years where a little bit it's like I'm just gonna have fun, be a kid for a little bit, like you can't overlook that. I think a lot of people overlook that and like they don't treat that as like a real reason. They're like, oh, that's dumb. Like you have plenty of time to like, no, like be a kid and have fun and use that transition to get to where you want to be by the time you graduate.
Yeah. I really wanted to. I'll expand on your first point
Yeah.
quickly because I think that's the most underrated aspect of university is understanding different perspectives of a certain dispute of people, their opinions, the way that they choose to lead their lives. Like I've met people from, they come from farmland and they believe this, and I meet people from the inner city who believe this, and it's like you start to understand why people come to make the conclusions they do, and that also translates into your work, right? And you're able to analyze two perspectives. Like I focused a lot on politics in university, and I was able to, the thing is, you can't pass a university course without acknowledging both sides of an argument. And you
Mhm.
can't, that's the only way you're going to get good marks on a paper and validation from a professor is when, you look at both sides. People always like to say a university is, oh, I don't like the university establishments. They're all liberal. I don't want to take this course. It's too left leaning. They're
Mm-hmm.
forcing it away. No, no. You address both sides of the argument. The only issue is that one side tends to be a little more progressive than the next, and the whole idea of university and that environment is to be a progressive area in which you encourage people from different walks of life, like you were saying, that may not have had an opportunity like that if they weren't at that school. So it's all about just sort of building a foundation, and that tends to kind of fall in line with a more progressive viewpoint. And I don't want to get too far into that. It's
Yeah.
just, you know, there's a lot of misconceptions about a university or a college until you get there, because I've made the
Mm-hmm.
best friends of my life living in a house with guys I never spoke to before,
Yeah.
getting here. And I wouldn't have known, I wouldn't have found value in, I live with a guy who's got a completely different political standpoint than me. And I love him to death. And some people who aren't as educated, it might sound, no, I don't mean for it to
Yeah.
sound bad. People who lack certain aspects of education will look at someone who has different viewpoints and be, mad because they're scared, because they don't know. They just don't know, why someone would choose to lead their life that way. And then you find out and it's completely harmless and we can all live our life a certain way and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
need to bother you. It doesn't impede on you. It doesn't affect your life
Yeah.
directly.
No,
Yeah.
100%. That's like honestly the beauty of that's why I enjoyed this podcast so much, because I do a lot of
Yeah.
dumb shit where like we do live shows, we're doing stupid stuff, we're doing TikToks, whatever. And this is
Right.
nice where like this is almost like a concentrated microcosm of just like what the college experience. Like I get a different each week, a different person comes on, talks about
Yeah.
themselves, and like none of this is about me. It's just like, all right, where's this person coming from? And then someone who's listening can like, all right, I either hate what he's saying, I disagree, or I see where he's coming from and I like this. And so each episode is very different, which again, that's what I really enjoy. So I kind of took that part of college and just kind of brought it here, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way.
That's really cool. No,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you and I see it both the same way, because I look at broadcasting in a similar way, something where I can, you know, pursue and cover stories that, most people would kind of brush aside at face value. If you dig in and you offer perspective, I mean, you could change people's minds for the better, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's really cool, because then you can have an educated dialogue. Another great part of being at post-secondary, establishments is like having a dialogue with peers that you would be afraid to have in a friend setting. Like sometimes
Yeah.
I'm in a class that covers human rights, and we talk about taboo subjects about, you know, police brutality or systemic racism and looking for systemic change from injustice. And, you talk about things that you just probably wouldn't be comfortable with your best buddy who, you guys crack jokes with all the time. Your friendships might be humor based or whatever. And you don't have the chance to have that serious conversation.
Yeah.
And now you're in a space where you can have those and understand why people have, preconceptions about something. And it's cool because just interacting with new people as it relates to you at good time, I mean, it offers so much more than people like to admit.
Yeah. No, I love that. Now, what's so you got a few more years of school. What's the goal long term? So obviously and hopefully in a couple years as good time grows, hopefully your role can grow as well and we can just build this thing together. But like
Yeah.
outside of that, what's your goals as you progress through school and eventually get out?
So I mean, as I said earlier, the school that I'm going to next year is going to focus on broadcasting the ins and outs of that, radio, TV, behind the camera type of stuff. And after that, I've always had a weird infatuation with being on the news. I think that'd be cool. I think I like a start off at a local news station or something. But the dream would be covering my favorite sports team, um, in some regard, and being a well respected media personality, where, it's I'm not ashamed to say I hope that one day a lot of people would value my opinion on certain aspects of sports, because I feel I put a lot of time into studying the game and understanding aspects that people usually look over. And I'd love to be the guy that, people tune into, and kind of like a Woj or like a Shams, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, they get the insider scoop, they're well connected, they've got the connections with players and teams, or if not like that, maybe an executive role with an NBA team. That's the dream.
Yeah. That's interesting because I think that's you and I are different in that aspect where
Yeah.
I don't not necessarily like I don't care about like being respected. I think I want the work behind the scenes and the hard work that goes into doing what we do to be respected more than my actual like takes and information. Like, yeah, like I care about what I say and like I think about what I say, but
Yeah,
I don't necessarily care if anyone else agrees with me in that sense, where I could see the dynamic of like if I put all this work, like I want people to respect like my opinion on this stuff, where I do a
yes,
lot of dumb shit and I just want like holistically my personality to come through, and people will continue to watch me for me and they understand who I am as a person, rather whether they agree with everything I say whatsoever. But I think there is like that's a good balance to have where you put the work in, like you know what you're talking about, and earning that respect is way harder than I think people will let on. Like it's
yeah,
very, especially nowadays where everyone has an opinion on everything. It's really hard to create that respect where people are like, all right, no matter what he says, like I understand he's coming from the right place, where I haven't put too much value into that because I just know how I've seen the dark side of the internet where it's just like anytime you put a clip of anything up, everyone's gonna their first reaction is to disagree. I hate what they're doing. Why does this person have a podcast? Get this mic away from me.
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
first reaction to 90% of people on the internet. So maybe that's jaded me in a way where like I just genuinely don't care. But also like I very much see where you're coming from. Like where like you want that respect because you put the work in.
Yeah, I can see there's a lot of parallels between what you and I are kind of hoping for down the road is like,
Yeah.
you want your work to speak for yourself and what you've built. And I want my work to speak for myself in the sense that, I would love to be seen as someone who knows their shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And someone who and it's hard to do that because I want to touch back on what you said about, everyone's got a camera now and everyone has an opinion. And now that more people are voicing their opinions, either you don't think they matter or you're going to keep looking for someone who is saying exactly what you wish to be true.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like if there's like a news political commentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a political commentator who says something that you morally align with, even though in reality it might not be entirely the truth. It's just maybe an aspect of the truth or an exaggerated part of the truth. Um, but you're going to tend to lean towards that. Like I'll be honest with you, I really only watch guys online that make most of their takes I'm in agreement with, or at least they prove to me that they can create a formidable argument. I hate stuff like hot takes,
Yeah.
that someone will pull out of their ass and not back it up. If you are going to make a claim anywhere, you better damn well be prepared to back that up. That's my biggest pet peeve is when you want to make a claim online and it's not rooted in some merit. It's just like it blows my mind that people and content creation and the accessibility of it all really allows people to feel like what they say matters because those people who want to agree with you are going to support you because even if what you're saying is bullshit, you you're speaking these people's language, and it's tough, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough road if I ever want to achieve that in full. But at the end of the day, you got to prove to people that you can be bipartisan and you can settle
Mm-hmm.
with them and you can try and because if you are stubborn and you are to say that the only way of thinking is your way of thinking, that's right.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a respected base of followers. You need to be able to acknowledge that this might be the case. However, this is why I think, this other case is the right one to make.
Yeah. I've always been like from the day one of Good Time, I've always worked under like the principle of thought where the people are tuning in, not like in a egotistical way, but people are tuning in for me, not
Yeah,
the content, if that makes sense. Where people are going to keep tuning in and coming back because they like the way I do things, they like the interview style, not because, oh, this is the most informational, correct. I agree
right,
100% with what this person says all the time. You're not going to find that
right.
anywhere. You're going to disagree and agree with people. Like
Always.
no two people are the exact same. So I've always been under thought like people are going to tune in. Like every time someone starts a new podcast with us, I'm like, listen, like if you're starting, let's say an NBA show, people aren't going to tune into you guys, the Low Zone, because you guys are the 100% correct, analytically on point all the time, 100% NBA show. they're not tuning in because of that. They're tuning in because
Yeah.
they like the dynamic between you two, because they like the charisma, they like the personality, and you guys clearly care about what you're talking about. It's the
Yeah.
personalities, and that's what really shines through shows. And I think that's what makes a difference in a world where everyone could do this.
It's about spurring a healthy controversy, in my opinion, and being able to start a dialogue that really shows your worth as a content creator. If you can spark discussion, I mean, like, and do that on a consistent basis, which Good Time does, which it's proven you're able to do. And me on the Magic Report, the only reason
Yeah.
people keep coming back to check the posts out is because I've been able to, be consistent and start a dialogue, a healthy one at least, that can sometimes turn into a toxic dialogue.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If you're in full agreement with somebody that you watch online or on TV, and you're in full agreement with them all the time, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. Unless what they're saying is like, oh, you should eat these carrots and eat these veggies. Like
Yeah.
if it's someone who should be controversial and you're agreeing with everything they say, you're a bit of a blind follower. You're not really
Yeah.
doing any much thinking for yourself. You're kind of just playing into your emotions and not as much your brain.
Yeah. And I think the clearest version of that in our world is like my top 10 Tuesday show. Like we do
Oh, I love
the
that.
dumbest rankings of all time. This week we did top 10 numbers, and people got so mad about some. And these are people who follow us and like enjoy our content, but they're like arguing with us, DMing me like, "How did you forget number five? Number five's easily a top 7 number. Like, what are we doing
See,
here? Like,
that's the
that's a
funniest
yeah,
shit. No, it's because it's also content that like most people can
yeah,
resonate with. It's stuff that everyone can have a say in.
yeah,
Like I remember when you guys did top 10 emojis, and you had a solid list, or like and the other guy was just terrible. I think you was it top 10 emojis or top 10
we
least
did.
favorite emojis?
I think we did top 10 emojis, like best
Top 10
emojis.
emojis. That's what it was. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I was
yeah.
mostly in agreement with you. But I think your buddy had like the fire emoji
Yeah,
as
I
one of the
hate
top
that
ones.
emoji. I
I
hate
hate
it.
that.
See,
I have to
yeah,
use it because there's what fucking else am I gonna do
exactly.
on sports? Like what I don't know. Like do the eyes. I can only do the
Oh,
eyes emoji too many times
yep.
before. I love ironic emojis too. I love sending the smiley face when it's just like
Hmm.
I would never say that seriously.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
yeah,
know.
it's stuff
It's
like
funny.
it's there's such like a variety of stuff we do here, which is
Yeah.
why I love it so much. People always say like you need to like find that niche, find that one thing that you're good at, and just how do you monetize that? Where I kind of want to
Hmm.
cast a wide net, where I can rank top 10 numbers, and then I can have a conversation like this about like basically like media and presentation and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Where it's cool, it's a cool dynamic. It keeps me on my toes, and I think it offers something for everyone. Like you got you an
It,
NBA show, and then you come on here
yeah.
and I want to talk about NBA, but like we really haven't talked much about that. So like it's a cool way to just like, all right, holistically as people, this is who we are. Either come
Yeah.
join us and hang out or don't, which is fine.
Well, that's what makes a personality so successful, is understanding that they can be likable in many facets uh of life, really. Like, you can talk about schooling, or you can talk about politics, you talk about sports, you can talk about top 10 emojis, and if you're a likable person, even if you're a little controversial and people don't agree with you, at the end of the day, people might tune back in because you're just an entertaining person,
Mhm.
aka Eddie, his dumbass, and
Damn.
his terrible team that he supports,
God.
for Christ's sake.
Yeah, Eddie's perfect example of that, I think. Now, not to be contradictory, but I do want to talk a little bit NBA. Just
Let's do it.
a lot of people are, including myself, are full blown March Madness right now. Which how big is like March Madness to you personally? Do you even care?
So if we're being like honest,
Yeah.
I will always tune into an NBA game over a March Madness game unless it's in the
Wow.
Elite Eight or Final Four.
Now the first
Even
round's the
sweep.
best, dude.
I get that, and I love watching the highlights, and I love watching. Look, from time to time, I'll tune in too. I
Yeah.
don't want to make it seem like I just don't know anything about college ball or don't care about it. I understand the intensity, and I have so much respect for it because even in Canada, people are so captured by it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Everyone's into it, and I if I have the time to, I will always tune into a March Madness game. Um, it's just never grasped me like the NBA did for whatever reason.
Mhm.
But I still love it, and I try to enjoy it as much as I can, and it's super fun. and I'll never diss on it, but I'm still full blown NBA mode when it's March Madness.
Fair enough. Now let's do again a real quick just overview of the landscape of the NBA right now. Where do you think we are as a league? Like how like for me, from my perspective, doesn't follow the NBA that much. I don't have an NBA team, which makes it a little harder. But
No Pacers? Come on.
my only loyalty lies with Jason Tatum. He's the boat. I made a rap song with him and Michael, or me and Michael, the Top 10 Tuesday guy who does that show with me. We have a song out on YouTube from 5 years ago now called Boat, where Jason Tatum, best of all time. That's what Boat stands for. And we just
Right.
adopted Jason Tatum as our guy. So I'll support Jason Tatum no matter what. And we say that we predicted his rise to being one of the best players in the league. He doesn't know that, but it's all thanks to us. But that's my only loyalty. But from where I see the league is it's in a really cool spot where there's a lot of parity. There's a lot, especially like now in the West, it feels like a crapshoot. The East, you got some like heavy hitters, and then it drops off a little bit. But how would you describe just the overall landscape of the league? I know that's kind of a loaded question, but just how
No, no,
would
no.
you
It's
break it down?
I appreciate that question because you're right to say that there's a lot of parity right now. And side note, I'm very happy with the steps that the league, the NBA as an organization has been taking in order to create more fan uh engagement and making it more fun every year. You know, they're looking for something new to change, which is unlike a lot of other major league sports teams. But you know, in the landscape of the league in terms of teams, it's crazy. Justin and I talked about this on the Low Zone 2 weeks ago. Um, you look at the West, the Portland Trailblazers at the time were the 13th seed, and the Grizzlies, or no, the Clippers were the sixth seed, I believe. And there were 5 games that separated the 13th seed and the fifth or sixth seed, which blows my mind because in the last 20 games of the season, you're able to, that'll change a lot, right? Like some guys have fallen out. The Pelicans were once at the 1 seed in the middle of the season, and now they're fighting to even make the play in. Um, I've never been more excited about the talent in the NBA. People are right to say that the talent level is at an all-time high in comparison to previous generations. Side note, I think people are stupid as hell for ever trying to compare generation to generation of basketball. You need to have goats of every generation. But in terms of the league right now, man, like we should be so excited because I think the league's going to be in crazy good hands after guys like LeBron and KD are out of their cycle and they're on the downslide, which you know you'd expect them to be doing now, but they're only getting better, which is just
Yeah.
weird, freaking me out, man. LeBron,
Now
you could argue this is LeBron's best individual season in terms of stats,
that's
um,
crazy.
or even last season. And you know, compared to Miami, he's just
Yeah.
been better. But the league caught up, right?
Yeah.
Talent wise, the league caught up.
That's nuts. Now, what two teams, let's say one in the East, one in the West, do you think controls like the narrative? Not like the best teams, not but the one that kind of moves the needle the most, where this team will kind of decide how things play out. It doesn't have to be like the number one overall seed in both conferences, but just whoever like controls what's going on in each conference, if that makes sense.
If the Lakers were any better, it'd be them because I know that the media is just on their knees for the Lakers, man. It blows my mind. Um, the ones that really control how the way things go. I mean, the Denver Nuggets are a testament to seeding this year because to be such an excellent regular season team, people are already doubting their abilities to compete in the postseason. And if they put up a shit show in the first round, or even to end this regular season, I think every team gets a boost of confidence in the Western Conference, thinking, "Oh my God, you know, we could actually have a chance." Because these guys just happen to play fluid basketball with one of the greatest players of all time running their offense. And you know, I think that's the team that if we see them underperform from here on out, there's no saying who will make it to the NBA Finals out of the West. As for the East, this is tough. I mean, yeah, it's same thing. If the Celtics end up blowing it, right? They've already kind of dropped out of the 1 seed,
Mhm.
and I believe that's true. I think the Bucks hold the 1 seed now,
Yeah, I think I saw that.
and people are already kind of thinking, "Oh, the Sixers now have a chance." While when the Celtics were the first seed and the Sixers were the third seed, people were saying the Sixers have no chance. They got no chance. Celtics drop. Oh, the Sixers have a chance now. Let's change the narrative. I'm sick of saying Jokic is the MVP. Embiid is the MVP when recency bias is killer. But I'd say whoever was in control of the 1 seed for the majority of the regular season in each respective conference, those two are the determining factors in how the rest of these teams will approach each game and each matchup.
Gotcha. Now, all right, last 2 questions for you here. First one, what player or team, I guess, but mostly just player, is the most fun appointment television? They're on prime time. You got to clear your schedule. You got to go watch right now in the league. It could be a shitty lottery team, but they're just fun to watch. Who's appointment television across the league right now?
I would have said Bol on the Orlando Magic if this was 2 months ago when he wasn't a terrible, terrible basketball player. And Magic fans will hate me for that, but I know there's a good chunk of fans that just watch him play. He can't do anything properly. Um, you have to say Ja Morant at this point. You just have to. The kid's
Yeah.
a highlight reel. He has the potential to be as attention grabbing as Stephen Curry. Because people don't really tune in to watch Steph Curry go off anymore because he deals with injuries and his team's not as good. But remember, like, there's never going to be a player that was more exciting to watch than 15, 16 Steph Curry.
Yeah.
But John Morant's close in terms of his athletic ability. He just needs to prove that he can win. And I guess in the East, maybe who's really fun? I mean, KD is always attention grabbing. People always clear their schedule to watch KD
He's
play
in the
because
West
he's.
now.
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
2 guys because the East is low key. I would say you got to clear your schedule to watch the Knicks play, man. The Knicks have been
Yeah.
phenomenal. I love watching, and they're playing my Magic tonight, and I'm scared shitless because they're going to destroy us. Yeah, Bucks or Knicks, man. I'd say
Yeah.
Giannis is always a good pick,
Yeah.
and maybe Joel Embiid. I'd
Okay.
say Joel Embiid.
The Knicks to me feel like a college team where like, oh, it's a bunch of guys who like probably not like superstars, top 10 in the league, but like they can ball and they play good team basketball.
Yeah,
It feels like they win. Like Brunson, Randall, even RJ Barrett screwed me on a lot of same game parlays, so I don't even like to acknowledge his existence. But I mean,
I'm shocked you even picked him up on a parlay, man.
I was listening to outside sources, which I'll never do again. I remember that's the only time I watch NBA is when someone gives me a pick and I'm like, yeah, I'll ride. And then I'll like pull it up on my phone on like buffstreams.com, like not even like
Yeah,
find the actual
yeah.
stream. I'll watch it. I'm like, RJ Barrett, just give me 2 more freaking points, dude. And he doesn't do
Cool
it.
thing about cool thing about sports betting is it really pulls in some viewership from people who
Yeah.
wouldn't be tuning in
Yeah, and it
beforehand.
makes it more fun for me, especially
Yeah,
like who doesn't who I don't have I can't fake loyalty at this point. So like I can't just like I'll root for Jason Tatum. That's it, just because it's hilarious. It's like almost a
yeah.
bit at this point. It's
I feel you.
I have 2 NBA jerseys. I have Jamal Murray, just because it's a really cool. The Nuggets have the coolest jerseys of all time,
They
and
do.
I have Jason Tatum. I think those are the 2 I have.
So, like, for having 2 jerseys, those are awesome picks. Shout out
Yeah,
to Jamal Murray from Kitchener, Ontario, Canada.
there you
Let's
go,
go.
a
Let's
little
go,
Canadian
Canadian
boy.
killer. No, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm a jersey collector, and I actually have them all hung up now. But I have 30 jerseys that I've
Woo.
collected over time. And if you talk to Justin, he's a Celtics jersey collector, so he's got like 30 Celtics jerseys. It's bananas.
Yeah, Justin's a character. I love that kid. Now, last question for you.
Yeah, man.
I ask everyone who comes on this podcast. Final question. You can answer it however you want. But Oscar, what gets you up in the morning?
Depends on if I'm waking up with my girlfriend or not. Um, 'Cause she'll be the one getting me up, figuratively and literally. Um, but uh honestly, man, I'm a very happy person. Like, knock on wood, my life is I wouldn't change a damn thing. And just to go through the round of a happy daily life, knowing I've got my family who I can call whenever, I've got my girlfriend who's my number one supporter, and I live with my best friends in the world. Like, that's what gets me up, man. I'm just being lucky, being one of the luckiest guys in the universe, you know.
Hell yeah. No,
But
I
I got to
love
know
it.
what gets you up.
I've always been a proponent of the blank slate strategy where each day is very much different. You'd have no idea what's gonna come. And So I don't like let that affect me or like what's coming up affect me. Just like, all right, this is a completely different blank slate kind of day. I don't know what's gonna
Right.
happen. Like we can have a conversation like this, which we're not gonna do tomorrow. So like this is only gonna happen today and like maybe down the road, but
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that where I don't know what each day is gonna bring. That's why I could never do like a 9 to 5 cubicle job. I just like
Yeah.
have I thrive under chaos where there's a limit to that. I can't be too chaotic, but I need like, all right, oh, I have to put out this fire. I got to go do this, I do this. And in the moment, I might complain about that, like, oh, I have so much going on. But deep
Right.
down, I kind of love that. I kind of love just like
Yeah.
being all over the place and embracing the chaos. It's like I live life like a full court press. We're like, oh, this is exciting. Like, this is fun. Like, oh, I could do that. Like, let's trap here real quick. All right, ball's over there. Let's go trap over here. And then
That's awesome.
once it gets past half court, once it gets past like 9 p.m., you slow it down a little, maybe drop back into a zone, something like that. And I just came up with that right now, and I kind of love that. Kind of love it.
Yo, I got to give you respect for that. That's awesome. That was a perfect way to put it.
Hell
You know
yeah.
what that reminds me of? We watched Everything Everywhere
Oh,
Everything Everywhere All at Once last night.
what a
Top
movie.
10, one of my top 10 favorite movies. I thought that was just phenomenal, man. And it seems like the
Mm-hmm.
approach that you're doing is the all at once,
Yeah.
where it's, you got to find that balance. I could
Yeah.
go on and on about that movie. We had an
Oh,
hour-long discussion earlier about it.
good,
It was
dude.
just fucking
It
perfect, man.
deserved every award, and it swept to the
Everyone.
Oscars. Well, it deserved it all. It was so good, and yeah, I love that movie so
Nah,
much.
nah. My parents said they didn't understand it, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me! Come on, just watch it again." And I bet if I
Yeah.
watched it again, it'd be perfect.
It is funny. There is a divide, not to get off track here, but there is a
No,
divide
no.
in movies where there's certain movies I watch and I'm like, oh, I fucking love that movie. My parents would hate this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you watch a
yeah.
movie like, oh, this is a great movie. My dad would hate it. Or my mom would hate this. And like I like it's such a weird, like I feel like every generation has that divide, which is very interesting because it's like art. Art is
It's funny.
subjective.
It's kind of like how when rock and roll was becoming popular in the '60s, and they were like, "How dare you listen to this music? This is music that'll end you up on the streets," or
Yeah.
stuff like that. And now, I don't know. Shit
Yeah.
changes over time, man. My dad, I loved Parasite. Like I think it was two or
Yeah.
three years ago,
Yeah.
and my dad, like, he was like, "I don't get it." To be fair, I didn't get it either, but I loved it.
Yeah. It's funny. All right. Well, hey
um,
Oscar, thank you so
hey,
much for what's up?
before we go, I wanted to just ask you,
Yeah.
what music are you listening to right now?
Oh, so my music's all over the place. I used to in high school, I heavily leaned country. That was like the root of it. But I'm more just songwriter. I'm lyric driven when it comes to music. So
Yeah,
if a song speaks to me and the lyrics speak to me, I'll add it to my playlist. And it's all over the place. It could be from any walk of life. Honestly, similar like we talked about, like kind of bring it all in. I do lean country though. I think I have a
yeah.
favoritism there. I don't listen to much rap, not a lot of R&B. But yeah, I lean country, but mostly just like I like the storytelling part of music.
Do you have a favorite artist?
Zach Bryan is my number one right now. Which
Nice.
it's become almost like a pander pick where everyone loves Zach Bryan, but I was on Zach Bryan way before. I hate to be that guy, but like I was there before he blew up, before American
I was
Heartbreak.
I was on the Luke Combs train before everyone else was. I went to
Hell
his
yeah.
concert when he opened for Aldine, and I was not an Aldine fan. And just because I didn't listen to a lot of country, but I loved Combs. I saw Combs open for Aldine. Aldine comes on, I cut, and I was like, I just needed to see Combs, and now he's
Hell
blown
yeah.
up, and I'm kind of like, I still like him, but
Yeah,
it's
but you don't want to pay $400 to go see an artist that you've been listening to forever. You know what I mean? I'm the same way now. It's I saw Zach Bryan last some I also love Noah Khan. Love Noah Khan.
oh nice,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
those are good, two
phenomenal.
good picks, man.
Yeah. I've seen them both in the past like 8 months which is awesome. Um but yeah, kind of all over the place with that. But
That's good.
anyways, Oscar, thank you so much for coming on today. Let people know where they can find you if you want to plug the Low Zone, Match Report, anything. Let people know what they should check out soon.
The Magic Report on all uh, platforms except TikTok. I haven't gotten around to it yet. The Low Zone on all platforms.
Yeah.
Um, Hot Takes Co. on all platforms. I'm managing their social media now, so check that out. And just stay tuned. A lot of good content coming from Wyatt and myself. And here at Good Time, man, I'm thrilled to be with such a warm and welcoming group of guys. Maybe I feel like these guys are my good buddies now, and it's crazy to
Hell
say
yeah.
that because we're so far away from one another. But Wyatt, I can't thank you enough, buddy. Thanks for having me on today.
Appreciate. I'll have to make it up to Toronto soon. That's on the bucket list this summer, so we'll work on that.
You come here and we'll go kick the shit out of Eddie or something.
Oh, perfect. That's a dream of mine, actually. Awesome. Thanks, Oscar.